First of all, thank you for your attendance in the interview.
You're welcome, Thomas.
Can you tell us a bit about your professional past and experience?
Yeah. I played basketball back home in Romania as a junior, under 14s, under 16s, under 18s, and then a few years as a professional player in the first league and second league in Romanian, national championship. Then I moved to England in 2001 and I carried on playing as a postgraduate student at the university where I was studying at Northumbria University, where I did my master, and also in the Division 3 in England, England basketball Division 3 basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did you find the gaming level comparing where you came from your country to United Kingdom?
Yeah. Here it's more like sort of for kind of fun and for kind of people play for like to get together and then so that they can go for a beer afterwards, as opposed to play seriously and train seriously and play proper basketball and do it like properly in that sense. So that was quite obvious, and even from the point of view back home in Romania, I was training once a day at least, twice a day in certain moments during the season. Here in England you train once or twice a week, and if people turn up, you can get a training session. If not, it doesn't really matter. They will, if they turn up on Saturday or Sunday for the game, it's okay, nothing, things are alright, in that sense. So,
yeah. Do you have any like memorable moments from your playing career?
Oh yeah, I got like quite a few actually, and as a junior, the best moments obviously for me, like in terms of achievements in that sense, are those when I played and I was like the best playmaker for the regional and the national phase of a competition I was playing at. Okay, so that's for me pretty good kind of achievement and a memorable moment in that sense. I remember games and when we won away and like difficult situations like referees being biased towards the team and stuff like that. So but these two moments in particular are the most memorable ones. I was 18, under 18, and we went with the team at a kind of a regional tournament, and we played 4 games and we got through. We qualified to the national phase, and I got a playmaker, the best playmaker award at that competition, and then at the national level exactly the same thing, so we finished second and we got silver medals basically in that competition.
Very good.
So that was fairly good.
From your coaching experience, any memorable moment?
Coaching as well, probably one of the best memories for me as a coach is the moment when I was assistant coach to Romania senior women national team, and we played at Eurobasket. We played at Eurobasket 2015, and the group stage was in Romania, in Timișoara, and we played against France, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Montenegro, and these 2 games in particular against France, who was at the time like the silver medalist at the Olympics, was a really good performance, and also the game against Ukraine. So we were like in both games, we were leading with like, I don't know, 6-8 points with 2 minutes and a half to go, and somehow France managed to come back into the game, and eventually they won. But we gave them a really good, strong performance, with the Romanian team. So that's one, and then also another moment when I was was in Romania, and we won silver with the university team I was, coaching at. Okay, so that was another good, moment in terms of my coaching. Similarly, here in England, when we won the student competition, the BACS competition, British Universities Colleges Sport. So when we won 4 years in a row, the final, the final 8, that was another, good moment, in terms of coaching. Another one would be when I was coaching in Lithuania, okay, in a camp, right? 2 weeks, and it was just coaching. I didn't have to discipline any kids. Those kids were like, professional players. They were interested in basketball and they wanted to be there, and they were absorbing your words as a coach and what you tell them, what you told them, and it was a great coaching experience, those 2 weeks in Lithuania.
Pretty good. Now, coming to the some pedagogical aspects of the coaching, are you familiar with the how do you view the coach as in the pedagogical aspect of sports?
Yeah, well, first of all, the coach should be a teacher, so that's the pedagogical element, because obviously, what is a pedagogue? A pedagogue is somebody who works with children, okay, and that person, that coach, needs to have the kind of ability to one, to understand children, to get on with them well, and to get them to work and to achieve the best out of those kids. And I always say, if you got like a teacher background, sports teacher background, as a basketball coach, probably that's the best combination, because you will know a little bit about pedagogy, a little bit about psychology, a little bit about working with people, about effort, intensity, and stuff like that. But definitely, the coach at the end of the day is a teacher. You teach the players, to pass, to dribble, to work together, to shoot the ball, to defend, and everything else, that comes with, working as a group, in order to become a team, basically.
Yeah. Now, coming to, some more specific details. Are you familiar with the athlete-centered coaching?
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's pretty much, it's doable, and it's definitely kind of, it can happen, okay? But it can happen with only in certain circumstances, only when the people you're working with are at a certain level, because you can empower your athletes, you can, give them trust and, build on that. But with beginners, that's not always possible, because with a complete beginner in particular, they don't know anything about, and they might choose something, which is not good or correct, according to your, philosophy. So definitely, I guess that will happen later on, in the later stages of a player career, for example, when, it's almost, John Lyle said, the coaches will become redundant in a team context. So that is pretty much, you empower your athletes, okay, and you tell them what to do, and they will do it depending on the moment in the game, because they have the fundamental base which will help them to make the decisions, to choose the correct decision in a particular moment, okay? So, so that's my kind of view on this topic. Definitely is doable. Definitely, is something that works, but it works only with, specific types of people, okay? Who have the knowledge, okay? Who have the desire to be there, to be part of the picture. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, no matter how hard you try to, embed, this athlete-centered approach into your coaching, so.
Many good points I will tell you to that. So nowadays, how like you view that coach-athlete relationship after all the pedagogical aspects that came after so many coaches, especially from USA or from Europe, like Zeliko Brothers or other coaches who spoke so much of that relationship.
Yeah, it's that is the key at the end of the day for the success of the team. Okay, which obviously the success of the coach as well. They kind of interrelated because you need to have on one hand a professional relationship with them, so players need to know this is the coach, we are the players, and we need to listen and to follow the instructions in that sense, okay, or to apply, okay, we need to be on the same page, and the coach will impose his philosophy onto what we need to do. And on one hand, the professional kind of relationship, and on the other hand is this kind of almost not necessarily like a friend, but you need to have that kind of personal touch on your players, because you need to almost spending time together out of the training environment, to socialize in that sense, okay, so almost like a family, to become a family. So have parties together, go to birthday parties for the kids, or go for like regular, share the time together, okay, because in this way you will understand, as a coach, you will understand them as persons, as people, okay, what motivates them, what maybe some player wants a little bit more encouragement, some other players want to be shout at, some other players want to be told nicely, so by doing these things on both contexts, on court and off the court, you will have a chance to know your players, basically, as a coach. And that's why probably Obradovic, Messina, and all the other big names, big coaches, okay, have they got that pedagogical approach, and they implement
in the wrong way.
Sometimes in the wrong way, but sometimes in the right way, because otherwise the teams will not be, and them as a coach will not be as successful, because otherwise it will go the other way around,
yes,
so
definitely, I agree with that. So in this context, how do you view right now the UK basketball compared to your country, Romania? And if you have like other experience from other countries, if you've been like, or Greece, let's say, Spain or Lithuania, where you've been?
I'll come back to the answer, so let me tell you a little bit of my experiences. So first of all, in terms of experiences, I played obviously in Romania and in England, and I also played like internationally in Moldavia, in Ukraine, so around close to where I live in Romania. And I was coaching also in these two countries, plus in Lithuania. And also I was working with, Spanish players, Lithuanian players, American players, so lots of different nationalities, Greek players and so on. So obviously I kind of follow what's going on in terms of European basketball, especially in terms of EuroLeague and Champions League. And I got a good understanding of, for example, the passion from the Greek fans, okay, how well and how nicely supported, the Lithuanian basketball is, for example. So that obviously, I got that background information. Now in terms of, comparing UK with, any other places, I think this basketball culture is missing. Not entirely, it's kind of, it exists, but the level is well below, other countries, and it starts with, simple things like, mini basketball, and then build up, to all these age groups, and all obviously to the professional, level of the game, okay? Just to give you an example in terms of that, creating that culture. When I was working with Worcester Wolves, okay, as an assistant coach, we had, let's say, 1,000 people in the arena coming to watch the game, okay? So 3 years ago, it was nice and quiet. 2 seasons ago, you could see the people, the spectators, they started to learn, the game, and it was a little bit of noise. They knew when to boo the referee, they knew when to clap with their hands, when a basket. So they kind of started to learn the game, and I think that's one aspect which is really, important, to create and develop that culture. And I think the lack of TV, lack of mass media presence into the mass media, it impacts directly onto, obviously negatively, because people don't know about basketball, negatively onto this situation in UK basically. So there are lots of things to you can compare from different angles, and at the end of the day, it's also this kind of almost like an internal conflict in a sense. They got England basketball, they got basketball Wales, they've got basketball Scotland, and these three separate entities, they came to the same table when the Olympics. London was awarded to the right to host the Olympics in 2012, and they put the GB team on. But afterwards, things got back to the initial state, in that sense. So,
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, I was pretty much accurate to tell you the truth, because as I also have some experience, I watched like some games of the Worcester Wolves, and I could pretty much initially compare the difference between Greece and
Greece, yeah. It's obviously Greece is a different level, and, but okay, we don't want maybe the Worcester Wolves supporters to be like in the same level, but at least to the same level as other European countries, So if you go and watch a game in Lithuania, you can see young people, you can see students, you can see older people, you can see over 50, over 60, over 70, and they all know basketball, men and women, and they enjoy. They got that passion about basketball, and they so knowledgeable about basketball, and it's a pleasure to see young kids next to their parents watching the game, and within the whole kind of maybe you wanna put this phone over here maybe or something, so, like about there, so that the sun is not on to it. About it stays maybe place.
At least you should be on the straight.
Yeah. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, so there are lots of things like that who pretty much have an impact on why basketball is what it is now, basically.
Now moving on, would you find after you coach so many players, especially from USA, from Lithuania, from all over Europe probably, would you find some of the like technical, tactical understanding or even athleticism being different so much, or
definitely.
The years there hasn't been some
definitely
gap kind of like closed?
Yes. Definitely the level of understanding, when you work with a Spanish player and with a Lithuanian player compared to anyone else, okay, in that sense, you can see you talk to people differently straight away, okay, because they got that game understanding, okay. They might not be as athletic as most of the American players, for example, but they have the desire to improve and to to compensate the lack of athleticism with maybe thinking the game when they play, to to go and get the best option available, okay, to beat the athleticism with a technical solution or even with a tactical solution in that sense. So definitely, as I said, that camp in Lithuania I went a couple of years ago, that was the best, one of the best coaching experiences, because I was over there just to coach basketball, technical aspects, tactical aspects, fitness. We were working on fitness as well, and everything else, and compared to other environments where I was coaching, even in some years, even with the Wolves players, they didn't react as quickly as those kids, in Lithuania,
when it was when we were talking about simple basketball, stuff to how to implement and how to impose my philosophy in terms of playing the game, and they sort of were so receptive and so much taking on board everything, straight away, basically. So yeah.
Now, do you remember any noticeable players that you had in the camp, and now you've seen their careers or their gaming experience uplift, like from Europe, Spain, from Greece, Spain, Lithuania? Any noticeable players that you find yourself after so many, after this couple of years?
Yeah, you see that's one of the problems here in Romania. Yes, I can tell you. I had a kid. I started with my first basketball coaching job. I had 3 teams, 3 groups of people. Okay, under 12s, under 10s, and kind of recreational group. Okay, so people who were not that good or who just wanted to be around. So from my under 10s group, one of the kids, I was working with him, for a couple of years in a row, and then I moved and he moved and all of that. He managed to be the captain of the under 16s Romania team. So that is possible in Romania. In England, it's not really possible because here, the kids, when you look at the junior basketball, like the mini basketball level, I would say 70-80% of the places where the basketball is being played is only once a week. So Monday they do basketball, Tuesday they might do football, Wednesday they might have a day off, or Thursday they might go to do swimming a little bit. So they do lots of other sports, but instead of focusing on only one sport, so you cannot really say, yeah, I worked with that guy and I developed him, all the way through. Yeah. So working at for example, in 1 year, working with as I mentioned, in Romania that happened, but over here, for example, in England, there are players, Spanish players who ended up after coming to us, they moved on and they ended up playing in a Spanish, second league, for example. Leboro, yeah, exactly, so, I had a player, a Lithuanian player, him and his brother, they both play, his brother actually was the captain of the under 18s in 1 year, under 19 Slavinskas, So there are some players throughout, in time where, I kind of had a little bit of impact on them, but I cannot fully say, apart from that example I gave you in Romania, from Romania, I actually worked with that kid and I developed him, as part of the team, and he became, the captain of the national team. So,
And at this point, just to tell you that some may argue, these are some opinions that have been around, that early specialization in one certain sport may be difficult in a way that you cannot always predict the development. Maybe as part of here in the United Kingdom, that when you do multiple sports, you might get some benefits from other sporting contexts.
Absolutely, that's true.
So in this way, maybe this kind of context
but the problem is also, so that's definitely good, but the problem is for kids, and coming back to that pedagogical aspect we were talking about at the beginning, on Monday the kid is going to basketball, okay, and he's working with a certain type of a coach, that coach doesn't know the kids that well because they meet them only once a week, coming back to what we said about knowing your players and everything else. On Tuesday he goes to a different coach with a different method, a different mentality, a different approach, and the kid is bamboozled. The kid is in his mind, he doesn't know exactly the other side of the coin. It leads to that because the kid will say, hang on a second, but this coach says this coach says this, so what do I do now? And that has an impact on on the long-term participation in basketball, for instance, and generally in sport. You see in basketball, lots of people finish playing in 15, 16, after a couple of years. Why? One reason is this. Then obviously once a week compared to what happens in Greece, compared to what happens in Lithuania, in Serbia, in Spain. Yeah, under 12s 3 times a week plus the game of the weekend. Yeah, so you can compare straight away the volume of work they do in 2 separate countries, in 2 separate contexts, which is not going to help the guy with the 1 hour a week training session. You know, what can he learn in that hour compared to, you know, 4 or 5 hours of, you know, per week, you know, basketball only. Yeah. So they will compensate. I completely agree. They will compensate if they do athletics. The athleticism, they will get it from athletics as opposed to getting it from basketball. But, you know, which is good if that's the situation. But sometimes, you know, that's not always kind of possible. It's not always, you know, the case in that sense.
Yeah, I understand.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think you made a pretty good point. Now, let's move further on.
Yeah.
Like, if you, after all the kind of pedagogical aspects and approaches you've read or you've learned, would you pick one specific above others to implement on your team or to suggest?
Yeah. I think, you know, first of all, people need to understand why. The question why is fundamental, okay? And people need to understand the answer to the question why. Why do we play basketball? Why do you as a player play basketball? And that answer will dictate, you know, your, you know, approach. Because, for example, if somebody comes and says, yeah, I want to win a championship, I want to win a trophy, so you can see, I want to play in a national team. So you can see straight away his motivation is there straight away, compared to, yeah, I want to spend time with my friends. That's clear scenario, you know, you're wasting your time as a coach, okay? And that will dictate your approach, okay? Because, you know, so it's coming down to this understanding, to understanding why first. And then it's also like pedagogical approach, you know, it's understanding your players and knowing exactly what they need at a specific moment in time. What else do they need in order to improve? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? So probably knowing that would be the initial step, okay, like a sort of a check, you know, point mechanism. And obviously you need to have that, you know, pedagogical, I don't know if it's a word in, you know, pedagogical tact, you know, I don't know if you understand that word, tact, you know. So that pedagogical approach, when working with children and even with adults, is exactly the same. You need to be a good, as I said, you need to be a good teacher, you know, to get them to work hard, you know, for you and to do everything you're saying, you know, at the end of the day. So this would be pretty much, obviously, is not kind of, you know, sometimes you need to treat everybody pretty much the same, don't have any favoritisms and, you know, stuff like that. Just try to get the best out of the people, you know, using simple explanations, simple demonstrations, simple, you know, corrections, you know, okay, providing constant corrections and feedback. Because if you work and if you do something wrong over and over again, what's going to happen? You're going to end up with bad habits, isn't it? And you will bring those bad habits into the game. So, you know, so yeah.
Now, that's a bit tricky, to tell you the truth. What do you think are important skills in order to improve that relationship, but also have those skills that can actually help one's career, either a coach or an athlete?
In what sense do you mean?
Like some skills that the coach can have to improve his his enhancement, his personal growth.
Yeah, okay. And also in the same time to contribute to you know, you mentioned Obradovic and you mentioned, you know,
you mentioned Messina.
These big names, and you know, it's interesting because all the top coaches, you know, when you listen to them and you know, you different coaching clinics or different kind of, you know, profiles, you know, they all say pretty much you need to be involved in basketball every day. Okay, so you cannot have like a time off. Okay, you will have time off, you know, in the sense that you will have a break, like a little bit of a, you know, between, you know, the next season will start and you need a break, you know, because obviously you're a human being. But it's that constant desire to improve and to find something that works for the team you're working with and for the athlete you're working with. And it could be basketball related element. Okay, maybe he doesn't know how to shoot, maybe he doesn't know how to rebound, you know, in order to improve their game. But it could be also things like off the court, having a girlfriend, having, you know, family support from family with the kids, obviously, especially, you know, because kids will not come alone, you know, initially, at least in the first couple of, you know, weeks and, you know, months. So it's having that, you know, again, knowing your personnel, basically, okay. When it comes to players, and when it comes to you as a coach, you just need to constantly, you know, learn and to constantly stay updated with what's going on in the world of basketball. Like, what are the trends, you know, what is going on in Europe, what is going on in USA, you know, and so on. So that way, you know, you kind of, you know, even having conversations with other coaches, you know, how do you do that? How do you do that? You know, what would you suggest in this situation and so on. So by exchanging, you know, constantly, you know, ideas and, you know, shaping and, you know, first of all, obviously, is having a philosophy, like, you know, what do you think, you know, the way the game should be played, which way, and, you know, stuff like that. And that constantly, you know, is like a solid foundation, and then you can add and you can build on that as the years, you know, go by. Okay, and the more you kind of get involved, okay, the more you stay updated, the more that will be shaped, and that will be kind of brought to the surface in a sense, and you know, you will have the chance to implement it, basically.
Okay. Now, a few more questions to finish up. So now going back to the part of physical skills, technical and tactical. We've seen like the past few years, like especially with the level of Europe always going, you know, always moving forward. We see the EuroLeague competition going, you know, making more improvements throughout the years. Seeing like the Spanish league, the Greek league. Here, probably the United Kingdom always might already make some steps towards that approach. Comparing to the NBA, for example, would you say that this gap like closes too much, because nowadays, especially see too many players actually have many athletic skills. They can jump high, they can run fast.
But they don't. They lack. They lack the technicality. They lack the fundamentals sometimes. You know, well. It's linked to this discussion, you know, what's better, like NBA or EuroLeague. For me personally, I'm not watching NBA. I don't like NBA. Okay, I like NBA. For example, you know, San Antonio Spurs, like that international mix of players and the way they played, you know, a couple of seasons ago and stuff like that. I like the NBA. I follow NBA just to see Sabonis, how is he doing? Doncic, how is he doing? Valanciunas, you know, Bogdanovic, Teodosic, you know, and all of these guys. And you can see Teodosic probably he didn't kind of like the league, and that's why probably he comes back to Europe, although he's the greatest player, you know, ever, you know, but probably the style of playing NBA doesn't, you know, suit him. So more technical, more tactical in Europe compared to, you know, strength and, you know, physicality in NBA. So definitely, me personally, as I said, I follow EuroLeague. I follow EuroLeague, and I like the European, and I follow also the Champions League. You know, the new competition, because that's about basketball. In NBA, it's like show. They score 150 points, everybody is happy, but when it comes to basketball, there is no defense. There is only one guy taking the ball and, you know, shooting the ball and stuff like that. Compared to, you know, how difficult it is to score in Europe, in EuroLeague, yeah, because of the defenses, because of the ways, you know, people, you know, the systems they play in defense in order to, you know, to reduce the number of points and to reduce the threats of, you know, particular, you know, superstar in a particular team, you know. So definitely, if you compare, you know, that gap, you know, is significantly reduced now, because I'm pretty sure, you know, teams like in Europe, in EuroLeague, they can play, obviously top 4 or 5 teams in Europe, they can play in NBA very easily, you know, and successfully, not only like losing, you know. So you can see European basketball is more based on, you know, fundamentals, more on like proper good technique, proper good, you know, fundamental elements, how to shoot the ball, how to score the ball. I'm not saying there are no Americans who got this. If you look in Europe, you know, all the Americans that play in Europe, they are like really strong, you know, fundamentally, okay? But they also have something, if they listen to the coaches, otherwise these coaches will not let the Americans do whatever they want, because it has to be part of a playing system, you know. So, you know, in Panathinaikos, Rick Pitino, he discussed, you know, and he was impressed with what he's seen in Europe since he arrived in, I don't know if you read these, you know, kind of interviews and you know, his comments and stuff like that. And you could see, you know, they don't know in USA about what's going on in Europe. Okay, some of them know because there are scouts and they bring European players over there. But generally speaking, you know, they thought basketball is only in USA and that's it. But it's actually, you know, Europe is as good, you know. You know,
Yeah, you mentioned like players like Theodosis, Bojan and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who actually, if you just someone like just looks them play, they are not again the thing that they lack too much. So they're pretty good, you know, in the technical side. In the tactical side, that's part again of what the coach might need. But they could just pretty much stand up in this league and, you know, survive. Now, for the last question, just to let you go, any kind of predictions for the FIBA World Cup? And how do you view the United Kingdom basketball in the next years?
United Kingdom basketball is probably about, you see, I'm a very optimistic guy, and you know, with London Olympics, I thought that's a moment when basketball will grow properly and will develop properly, but I think it's still behind 2-3 years as a minimum, you know, behind every other, you know, good nation, good basketball nation, you know, and stuff like that. We're not comparing our, you know, UK with like an island in the Pacific Ocean or whatever. We try to compare with, you know, okay, not necessarily like Lithuania, Serbia, you know, France, Spain, but with, you know, maybe Italy, you know, not, you know, maybe with, you know, Sweden and Netherlands and Belgium and
understand.
And so it's a little bit behind, unfortunately, and there are no signs for improvement really, and and the discussion is very complex, and, you know, lots of reasons. With regards to the World Cup, I think if realistically right now, I would say obviously USA is the best team and they will probably be in the final. Now Spain, Serbia, France and Lithuania, I would say, if these teams have all their best players available, including their NBA players, like ready to play, like not injured, they will give them a good run, you know. Even Slovenia, for example, they will be, you know, a threat, you know, to Australia is looking good as well, but pretty much I can see another final, Spain versus USA, but I can see also a team like, you know, Serbia or Lithuania beating these big guys as well, you know, on the day. So that can happen. So yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much for the
right, no worries.
interview.
Yeah, no problems.
It was pretty good, I believe.